Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Work Hard, Live Soft podcast. We are in the middle of the My Messy Middle series where I am bravely answering the question, what is true for me right now in this season? Started this series, a week ago when I was in Bali, met up with some of my girlfriends and we were just talking about life and business and where we are. At the time of shooting this episode, I'm 35 years old. I've been running my business for over 10 years now. And I don't know, I've kind of just been feeling in this weird space of what do I want to do? What do I feel qualified to do? And I have really been connecting with a lot of you all who feel like you are in this space as well, especially if you've been in your industry for quite a long time and you've been thinking about maybe wanting to do something new or something different or adding on to what you've already been doing. And so about a week ago, I was on Threads and I saw my sister post about an interaction that she and I had, and I'm going to read it out loud. And it was a reminder for me, for you guys, and for me as well in my business. So let's see what it says. She says, I was feeling discouraged about how something went in my business. My sister told me to list out all of the brands I've ever worked with, 208, and only 8 of them weren't household names, which came to over 300 paid brand campaigns. I am exactly who I think I am. This is your reminder to stay encouraged and remember that a momentary failure of your business isn't a reflection of all of your work or identity. Stay encouraged. Go look at your receipts. And I love that she posted this because this is something that I do with my clients. I told her to do it because it was already a framework or system or a process that I go through with my clients who are just the most brilliant women. And they come to me, they've been in their industry for years and they're trying to figure out, am I good enough to charge? Do I really know what I'm doing? Can I really coach people? Should I create a course around this? And anytime that I find that my clients are running into imposter syndrome, I have them create their receipts list, their I did that receipts list. And I have them write out all of the things that they have done and they have accomplished within the last 10 years of their life. Not in their business, not just in their career, but in life in general. The reason I have them do this is because a lot of my clients are wives and moms, and I find that sometimes it's very easy for women to downplay all of the things that we do and all of the moving parts that we take care of because it comes naturally to us or because we're supposed to do it anyway. And, I'm not a mom yet, but when I look at moms, I'm so impressed with them. And sometimes I have conversations with my clients and I'm like, you birthed a human being and you are keeping somebody alive. You are responsible for a whole other person. That in itself, you need to be able to give yourself credit for. But another thing that I was doing, I was working on one of my sales pages and on the sales page, I had some of the positioning messaging and I talked about what I had accomplished in the last 5 years. It was for one of my master classes, Most Profitable Year Ever, where I talk about my philosophy about being profitable in life and business. It's not just about the money, but it's about the fulfillment and the impact. And I talked about how I've been able to work with hundreds of clients. I've had thousands of customers. I've been able to purchase my home. I've been able to move my parents to Atlanta, put a down payment on their home. I have a lot of freedom to see my nieces and my nephew and spend time with them. I've been able to purchase rental properties. I've been able to generate millions over the last few years. And as I was reading this, it was like an aha moment for me that I needed to be very intentional about creating my receipts list. Typically, I do it if I'm leveraging it to position myself, when I'm positioning myself as an authority figure, when I want to sell or when I want to build trust in the online space, which is totally fine. But outside of just positioning yourself and building trust with other people, sometimes we have to internally build trust within ourselves. And while I'm in this messy middle, it was like I started to doubt myself. It was like I started to lose trust in my own ability to serve people, my own ability to show up as an expert when it comes to systems and operations and business strategy. And so it's really important that just because you might be in a season where you feel a little bit confused, or maybe you've gone through a setback or you've experienced some type of failure, that you need to look at the accumulation of what you have been doing in your life, in your business, in your career, and give yourself credit. And I have to find this balance because there's only so much of my past that I can lean on, but my past is evidence of what I'm able to do. My past is evidence of what I'm able to do. And so when I look at my past, I'm like, if you've made $1 million once, twice, I've made $1 million 6 times in my life, I can certainly do it again. If I can have successful launches, if I can work with thousands of people and I've already done it, I can certainly do it again. If I started from scratch once, I can do it again. And I've started over so many different times in my business that it's like, girl, it's okay to start all over again. And this time you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. So it's really important that if you are in this messy middle right alongside me, that you first give yourself credit. You look at your receipts list, you look at all of your experience, and make sure that you consider all of the things that you've already accomplished and take a look at what you actually want to do again. What are some of the things that you want to repeat? And you might not be doing it again in the exact same way, but there are some things that you're like, okay, I want to make money like this again. Maybe I want to do it in a shorter time, or I want to be able to serve people, but maybe it's a different audience. And so this is really just all about how do you want to reinvent yourself? This is something that I'm working on with my clients right now who are coming to me and they've been in their industry for quite a while. And they want to reinvent. They want to reinvent how their audience sees them, how the industry sees them. They want to reinvent their offers. They don't want to sell the same things anymore. And so it's just so interesting that as I'm helping people navigate this in their business, that I'm recognizing I'm experiencing the exact same things. So that was the first thing that I wanted to share today. The other thing, so first thing is just don't forget who you are, right? Remember who you are. Remember your identity. Don't necessarily tie your accomplishments to your identity, but recognize that because of who you are, you have the ability to accomplish more things. You're not who you are because of your accomplishments. You accomplish those things because of who you are. I want you to remember who you are. Remember your identity so you can recognize that you still have so much more to accomplish. The other thing that I've been thinking a lot about lately is just overall success principles. And one thing that we know to be true about success is that success loves speed. Success loves speed. And the reason I think I'm excited about this Messy Middle series is because of how quickly I decided to do it. Going out to brunch with some girlfriends at 10 a.m. and then recording a video at 2 p.m. from the series idea that we came up with. And typically, we tend to overthink a lot of our ideas, and I'm guilty of it too, whether it's because of fear or perfectionism or whatever it is. I am finding that I have slowed down my decision making compared to previous years. In the past, once I decided I wanted to do something, I did it. Like I remember when I decided I wanted to do Impact Weekend and I created the sales page and I did the promotion and I got my first customer and I did it all within probably like 9 to 12 weeks, which is actually the same timeline and process that we take our clients through. It's like we have to decide faster and we have to execute just as quickly. It does you no good to come up with a bunch of ideas and decide that you want to do it, but the execution isn't there. I know you've made a clear decision when I see that you are making moves that show you're living within that decision. It's one thing to decide that you want to launch a course. It's another thing to actually launch the course. It's one thing for me to decide that I want to get in better shape. It's another thing for me to actively start getting in shape because I'm changing my eating habits or I'm changing my workout routines. It's one thing to decide that you want to get better with money. It's another thing to actually learn about money, learn about investing, being intentional about cutting off expenses that are not serving you and bringing you a return on your investment. We need to decide faster and execute even faster. And so the reason I was thinking about that was, one, because of the series, and two, just taking inventory of my own life and business, of the life and business of my friends, and just thinking about, man, the moment we decide something, let's just do it. It is okay if it's not perfect. I know this series has not been perfect. Some episodes or videos get good views, some don't. Who cares? As long as you feel like you are in alignment with it, you're excited about it, you feel like it can actually serve people, you need to do it quickly. It's better to do it quickly than it is to do it perfectly, because perfect never actually gets launched. It's better to do it quickly than it is to do it perfectly, because perfectly never gets launched. There are a lot of perfect ideas that will never see the light of day because people are still overthinking it. They are tweaking, they're refining, they're trying to make it better. And you're not going to be able to make something better unless you actually get feedback from the group of people that it's actually for. Allow yourself to put things out imperfectly because you are desiring to do it quickly. And this doesn't mean that you shouldn't have standards for what you do. Have a basic framework for the things that you want to put out there, but please don't overthink it. Don't overthink it, okay? So make sure that you're getting it done. It's better to do things quickly than it is to do things perfectly. Now, another success principle that we got to talk about here. Before I get to it, I want to rewind. So I just recently got back from Miami a couple of days ago. I went to my friend's wedding, and I'm sharing this story with her permission because I'm not dropping any names. So at the wedding, I'm in her bridal party. And of course, you know, at the wedding, at the reception, you give a toast to the bride and groom. And so her maid of honor, as we were getting ready, she was going over her toast and her speech, and we all heard it, obviously except for the bride. And we're like, this sounds really good. I like how you inserted this here and how you mentioned this story here. Then when we get to the reception, she did a phenomenal job, short, succinct, well-rounded. We got the laughs, we got the heartfelt part of the toast and the speech. Then we get to the best man, who, I don't know if he's just really silly or if he was drinking or a combination of both, but my man, his speech was all over the place. And this is really the thing that you dread at weddings. For me, I cannot deal with secondhand embarrassment. It makes me want to crawl out of my skin. But we're all listening to this speech, and at a certain point, everybody's kind of looking around the room like, please wrap it up, wrap it up. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, whatever. And so I was having a conversation with my friend, and there was two things that we talked about. But the first thing I want to talk about is the second success principle, which is preparation. You got to be prepared in order to succeed. You got to be prepared in order to succeed. And part of preparation is also practice. Because not only did the maid of honor prepare a speech, but she also practiced it. Sometimes we are showing up to the playing field, we're showing up to the game, and we haven't prepared, nor have we practiced. And as a result, we are super nervous. We're either nervous or we just completely mess up. Now, this is not to say that you have to do things perfectly, right? We just talked about do things quickly over doing them perfectly, but that does not mean that you should not prepare. It does not mean that you should not prepare. Anything that matters to you requires a level of preparation. Childbirth requires preparation. Relationships and marriage require preparation. Exercising requires preparation. Anything that matters to you requires preparation. So make sure that when you are thinking about the things that you want to succeed in, first, you move with speed, and second, you are prepared and you're willing to practice and get it right. Now, the other thing that my friend and I talked about, because she and I have very similar personalities, she and I are the type of people who extend grace freely. I mean, if you measure how people extend grace, it's going to be Jesus Christ, and then it's going to be me and her. Okay. And of course, we're imperfect people. So there are going to be some things where there's a lack of patience or whatever, but she and I overextend grace. And this is something that I've had to learn over and over. I love extending grace to people because I know it's something that I need. I know that I'm a very flawed person who has made a lot of mistakes that have hurt people or cost people or hurt me or cost me. And so I know that I need grace. But when she and I were talking, and I'm giving her wisdom, and when I'm giving her wisdom, I'm receiving it for myself too. So shout out to the Holy Spirit for speaking through me so I can get the message as well. I'm like, there are times when people need our grace, and there are times when people need our accountability. And that was an example of needing to hold somebody accountable, because we are giving grace to people who know better. Accountability is for when people knew better and they didn't meet that standard. For me, what I believe that she and I could do better as people who just love to extend grace is extending grace more freely to people who genuinely tried their best. Giving grace to people who genuinely tried their best. And of course, you can give grace to people who they just fell short, right? That's what grace is. Grace is not about like, okay, you give grace here and you give grace there. But I say all that to say, when we are being intentional about relationships with people, right? And I'm talking about you have an actual relationship with people. So accountability, you don't have the right to just hold everybody accountable, especially when you and that person haven't agreed on a specific standard. But when you're in a relationship with people, there are times to give them grace and there are times to hold them accountable so they can be better. And so my conclusion from that is I'm going to be more generous in my relationships with extending grace when I know that they really tried their best and then they fell short, versus you didn't even try. You came here unprepared. You came here knowing what I needed from you. You came here with an agreement with me of a standard that you were supposed to meet. And now I have to hold you accountable for falling short because you didn't try your best. So I don't know who that's for. And maybe some people might not agree with it. And the advice might be specific to different scenarios and different people. But that was just something that I was thinking about this morning when she and I had a conversation. And so when I give advice, especially about how I want to treat other people, I also put that back on myself, right? I hold that same level of accountability on myself to where in my life can I give myself more grace, right? So for example, the conversation with my sister and I, she feels like, oh, I didn't do something well in business. And I say, let's look at all of the things that you've done. That's an example of giving yourself grace, because it's like, okay, maybe I fell short in this area. Where are the other areas that I stepped up and I need to be reminded of who I am? Where do I need to give myself grace so I'm not beating myself up? The alternative to that is maybe my sister comes to me and she says, I really messed up in business, and we have a conversation and I'm like, man, that doesn't feel good. But the truth is, it doesn't seem like you were prepared for this meeting, or it doesn't seem like you really practiced your speech before you went on stage, or it doesn't seem like whatever it is. And so just really knowing and having a level of discernment of how you need to show up in the lives of the people that trust you with your wisdom. So thinking about where do you need to give yourself grace in this season, and where do you need to have more accountability for yourself in this season. We can all use more accountability. And if you're fortunate and you're blessed, you have a friend or a group of friends where you trust their wisdom, right? You trust their counsel, and you trust that they can give you what you need in the moment. Or sometimes you might even trust yourself and say, man, I really messed up and I just need to talk through it. And I really need a different perspective on this. I need a level of grace here. Or I really messed up and I want to know, am I looking at this the wrong way? Am I looking at this the right way? Should I have done something better? Should I have done something differently? So you also have to know what you need to ask for sometimes as well. But those are all of the things that I've just been thinking about, really, honestly, within like the last 72 hours that I wanted to talk about. Grace, receipts, don't forget who you are. Accountability, preparation, success, love, speed. We need to decide faster. We need to execute even faster. So I hope that this was helpful. I'm kind of laughing because I feel like my last video was almost kind of like a little bit down in the dumps. It was a long travel day. It was still very me, still very true. Today's episode, very much hype Maya, good energy Maya. And I will also say, because I'm putting this episode on the Work Hard, Live Soft podcast, this is my first time shooting a podcast by myself and not feeling completely nervous. Even when I do typically have my team, I'm nervous, I'm sweating bullets. And then I have shot one episode by myself that I never released, and I was nervous. It took me so long. But I'm really grateful for showing up imperfectly when I started the My Messy Middle series, because I feel so much more comfortable and confident on camera. Sometimes maybe you guys aren't able to see the nerves, but I don't know if you could see a different level of confidence with this episode, but I know within myself that I feel so much better, and it makes me excited because I don't want to keep holding up any wisdom or revelation that I could extend to you guys that will also be beneficial for me, because I'm overthinking shooting a podcast episode. So shout out to technology, shout out to doing things imperfectly, shout out to doing things quickly. And I want to know, let me know in the comments, where do you need to give yourself some grace, and what areas do you need to be more accountable to yourself? All right, y'all, I'm so excited to be doing this with you guys, and I'm excited to see the comments. Until next time, keep working hard so you can live soft. Take care.